There's a new report indicating that Tom Hardy as Venom is very likely to show up in Spider-Man 3, which is an MCU-produced Sony Marvel movie. What's up, everybody? It's Josh. Welcome back to the channel. Smash that like button and let's get right into this. Now, this is going to be a dense video and we're going to break it up into sections. First, I'm going to talk about this new report. Then I'm going to talk about what the official Hollywood trades have been reporting versus what other insiders have been reporting. I next want to talk about a bunch of different rumors and reports that came out around the time of the Marvel Sony deal breaking apart and then coming back together. And then I want to finish off with some sweet, sweet speculation on what Kevin Feige's master plan is and how we think it's going to actually come out in the MCU and Sony movies. Okay, so I saw this pop up on the direct. It says here, MCU Spider-Man 3, Tom Hardy rumored to be in consideration for Venom role in Marvel sequel. And it says here, according to Daniel Richtman's Patreon, there is a general interest from the studios over Tom Hardy's Venom to show up in Spider-Man 3. It is unclear if the interest is from Sony, Marvel, or both. Richtman says there have been no real talks yet, and Hardy's involvement would presumably be just for a cameo role. Okay, so that is the report, okay? So Daniel Richtman reporting that there is some consideration for this thing. Now, that is very loose language. That's a very little vague thing to throw out into the void. And so you might be like, well, why would this even matter at all? Well, this is why I want to get into the section of the video where we're going to talk about the official story and what's being told with the Hollywood trades. And then we're going to talk about basically just Daniel Richtman, but a lot of other scoopers as well, and the narrative they have been building for this movie. So the only two reports that have come out from the Hollywood trades that are talking about Spider-Man 3 are the one with Electro and the one with Benedict Cumberbatch. And again, I know not everybody fully understands how this relationship works, but basically the Hollywood trades have a ton of information, but they only release information that the studios are comfortable with. They play very nice with the studios. It's where this whole access media idea comes from, and it is true. It's not really conspiratorial, it's just true. In order to attain and retain the access that they have to play nice with the studios. It just makes sense. And then there are a bunch of people like Daniel Richtman, Jeremy Conrad, Grace Randolph, you know, pick your person. Charles Murphy's a really good one. These people work outside of the Hollywood trade system, and they are scoopers and insiders. A lot of these people have the same access, if not better access, than a lot of the people in the Hollywood trades have, but they don't get all the juiciest information, and they tend not to actually get the exclusives. Even if they do break news first, oftentimes the Hollywood trades will just break that story and claim it as an exclusive. All of the scoopers I just mentioned have been beaten by the Hollywood trades as for an exclusive. But they also don't have to play by the studio's rules. They can release whatever information they want to. And the reason that's important to talk about is because Daniel Richtman particularly is connected to a bunch of the stories we've been talking about over here, and he has often preceded the trades in explaining crazy things. As an example, when the stories came out about the Tom Cruise Iron Man, in that report connected to Daniel Richtman and corroborated by Jeremy Conrad and Grace Randolph was the fact that Marvel was creating a multiverse trilogy beginning in WandaVision, then moving to Spider-Man 3, and then finishing off in Doctor Strange 2. That report from Daniel Richtman predated the Electro announcement, which came out on the Hollywood trades, and it also predated the announcement of Benedict Cumberbatch. And frankly, that has been why when the big Hollywood stuff comes out, it's cool because it just adds validity to everything we think we already know. But to me, Daniel's already good enough of a source that whatever he says, I bounce off other people, and I tend to have a pretty comfortable idea of what is actually going on. And so that is why when Daniel Richtman simply says that they are considering it is actually way more valid than a ton of other clickbait or a ton of other crazy rumors or Reddit posts or things that you can do. This guy is freaking onto it, ladies and gentlemen. When he says this, it means it is real. And now what we gotta do is go back to October of 2019 when the Sony Marvel deal was falling apart and being rebuilt back up together again. We actually have a lot of information now about what was actually going on then. And for the sake of this video not going at a crazy length, I'm going to be paraphrasing different reports and talking vaguely about the things that I remember that did come out from good sources. You can fact check it and go back into it, but I want to give you the basic idea of what happened. Sony was always creating their own separate Marvel universe with the Spider-Man characters. This was what Venom was. This is what Morbius is. This is what that Silver and Black movie was going to be. This is what their original Madam Web movie was going to be. They were going to figure it out. And in fact, they were already going to be doing multiverse stuff with their own Spider-Man because they technically own them all. They own Andrew Garfield. They own Tobey Maguire. They even own the Tom Hardy Spider-Man, although that is a little bit more of a complicated deal. Essentially, Spider-Verse just showed us what it was. This was what they were going to do, something to that effect, and it was going to be absolutely epic. This is why Tom Hardy posted a picture of himself in the Spider-Man, the MCU Spider-Man costume, right around the time of the Sony Marvel deal breaking apart, because he knew, and most of the people at Sony knew, that was what they were going to do. Now, we believe what was happening on Marvel's end was they were very much going to build the Tom Holland Spider-Man into the future of the MCU and everything they wanted to do. And I think Feige thought, because things were going so well with the movies he was helping Sony produce, that he would essentially be able to renegotiate and have that Spider-Man character. In fact, there was a clause in the contract, ladies and gentlemen. I remember talking about this with you. Whereas if Far From Home did not gross $1 billion, then it automatically would have reverted back to Sony. Okay, I remember this. Do you remember this? Because we talked about this. And after Far From Home cracked $1 billion, all the MCU fans breathed a sigh of relief. We were like, oh, we made $1 billion. Beautiful. Spider-Man, Tom Holland Spider-Man's in the MCU forever now. Congratulations, Feige, you did it. And then the deal broke apart anyways, and we were all like really confused. That's why it was so confusing. And so what you had was Feige with his plan, thinking everything was gravy. And you had Sony thinking, hey, it don't matter. We're going in our own direction. We don't need Feige anymore. And they were within their rights to do that. But then the public perception of that move backfired on Sony in a major, major way. Despite them having all the cards, all the leverage, and owning the IP, in the public eye, everybody hated them for it and viewed it as super negative that Sony was taking Tom Holland away from the MCU. And Tom Holland himself didn't like it. He even felt like it was bad for his career moving forward, and he was trying to explain to them that everybody loved the fact that they were involved with the MCU. This is what Tom Rothman says in that round table where he's literally sitting there with Alan Horn, kind of discussing with us how that deal went down. What he said was the speed of what is talked about in the news and on social media does not match up with the speed of negotiation, meaning they were actively negotiating back and forth. It's just negotiating tactics. And so now let's speculate. Let's bring this whole thing home and let's speculate about what's going on now with Kevin Feige, with Sony, with the Spider-Man and the Venom character. What I believe is happening, and I'm going to sound like a broken record because I continue to say it, but what I believe is happening is Kevin Feige is getting what he wants and Sony is getting what they want. I already told you, Sony already had a Spider-Verse plan. Feige likely said, what if we took your Spider-Verse plan and we melded it together with my multiverse plan, which, by the way, is going to head towards Battle World and Secret Wars. And behind closed doors, they likely figured that out. Now, what does Feige want? Feige wants Norman Osborn, and he wants Tom Holland to be the Spider-Man of the MCU for a long, long time. What does Sony want? Well, they want Tom Holland Spider-Man, but really they only want Tom Holland Spider-Man because he's associated and attached to the MCU. People love the MCU. They love the Marvel brand. Sony wants people to say, hey, I liked all these movies. There's that Spider-Man dude. He was in these movies, therefore I'm going to like this movie. Well, they can do that, and they can still have that without Tom Holland actually being the native Spider-Man to the Venom universe. And so what I think they figured out was a way to crack open the multiverse, to have Doctor Strange in a movie with Tom Hardy Venom and Tom Holland Spider-Man, to have it all be made sense, but also have its own succinct boundaries. Tom Holland is not the Spider-Man from that universe over there. At least that's what I think they're going to do. Because again, I think Feige wants to hold on to that Spider-Man. And Sony, at the end of the day, they're probably okay with it as long as they can continue to make billions of dollars and do their own thing. And they'd have complete creative license to create whatever version of the Marvel Universe they wanted to, which they have, by the way, anyways. But it can technically be canonically connected to whatever Feige does. It's literally brilliant. It solves all the problems and it still has connective tissue. So yeah, guys, Venom, Tom Hardy, very likely to be in Spider-Man 3. And I think even a chance that he'll be in Doctor Strange 2. But more importantly, I can almost guarantee that if we head towards Battle World and Secret Wars, Tom Hardy Venom will be there. Because at this point, Feige's looking over at DC and he's saying, we got to stop infighting. We need all the Marvel goodness over here to shine and to outshine whatever they're doing over at DC. And believe you me, that is absolutely in Kevin Feige's mind. And so that's the new report, a little bit of a explanation about what's going on with the Hollywood trades versus the insiders, and also my speculation about what Feige wants. Oh, and this would also explain why Feige is going to continue to help Sony, even with the Spider-Woman movie, which essentially Olivia Wilde gave away. But of course, let us know what you think about the report and the speculation in the comment section below. And now let's shout out Josh I. Yes, indeed, it was Tony Stark that created the Illuminati in Marvel Comics. Now let's ask another nerd card question before we get out of here. I want to know, what is the real name of Spider-Man 2099 in Marvel Comics? If you like this video, make sure you drop a like on it. And if you're not subscribed to this channel, what are you thinking? You gotta subscribe so you don't miss any videos. If you're enjoying the content over here, then you will absolutely love the live streams we do straight from Nerdvengers Tower, Monday through Friday, starting at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.